Hi there, Sandy here. Welcome to another polymer clay jewelry making video at keepsakecrafts.net. Today I'm going to show you how you can take purchased filigree pieces and turn them into gorgeous vintage looking jewelry with roses or flowers of your choice. Here are a few pieces that I found at my local craft store. Actually, all of these I found at Michael's, and they're all this brand, Bead Landing Found Objects. And there's these, which is ring blanks, and you can see I put a flower on that. And then there's this, which is called Chain, but it's really just a collection of filigree pieces that you could leave together in a chain or take apart. And then there's these bigger ones, and then even these keyhole-shaped pieces you can buy in packages with all different finishes. And so this is a great project for using things that you may already have on hand and getting a really pretty, sweet vintage look. And it all starts with just a simple polymer clay flower, such as a rose. So I've gone ahead and picked out some colors that I wanted to make my roses in, and these look really pretty with a little bit of sparkle. So I started with this pink color that I had in my scrap bin. I added some pearl and got this one, and then I added some more pearl and some more pearl, and then I even added some copper to get just a variety of shades. Now I remember making roses out of bread dough clay. They're very simple to make. But to get a really lovely, delicate look, there's a few tricks that you'll need. So what I'm going to do is start out with a sheet of clay rolled on the thickest setting of my pasta machine. And then this is a 3/16 inch round Kemper cutter. And this just helps me to get all my pieces consistent. And I'm going to cut 12 pieces. And then I'm just going to move all these little pieces to another work surface and set them down with a little bit of space in between them. And one of the pieces I'm going to cut in half, and that will give me two smaller pieces to use for the center of my flower. Roll those into balls. And then I'm just going to take a scrap of index card and smush all of these out to nice, thin, flattened oval shapes. And then use your blade to release them all from the tile. Then start with your very smallest one and just use your fingers just to roll it up as tightly as you can. And then what I like to do is take a little tiny ball tool and just kind of open that out a little. And you can do this as much or as little as you want. I just like the edges of the petals to have a little bit of flare. Then I'm going to take that other small one and put that against the center and wrap that around. And again, if you want, you could take your ball tool and kind of sculpt those petals. Now if you were to wrap all of your remaining petals at the same level here, what ends up happening is that this center kind of stands proud of the rest of the flower. So I'm going to have my petals come up about maybe a fourth of the way over that center, and it will actually position it just right. And what you can do if your edges need to be ruffled a little more or flattened, you can hold it between the thumb and index finger of your non-dominant hand and then use a ball tool to kind of flatten it against the pad of your index finger. You can also just sort of use your fingers of your other hand. I like to give them a little bit of a curl over, not all of them, but just some of them. And then you just keep building, overlapping each petal by about a third. And this is really just kind of personal taste to experiment, see what looks good to you. There's all sorts of different roses. I'm not trying to make this look like any particular rose. But you can see you just kind of take your finger and very gently shape that edge. You could even pinch the edges if you want, kind of give them that point that some rose petals have. And that's really all you do. Once you're done and your flower is the size you want it and shaped just the way you want it, you can roll it in your fingers just a little from the bottom here. You have to, it's so delicate and these petals are so thin, you really have to be careful. But you can Try not to drop it, but I've dropped these so many times. Just roll it just a little bit to kind of compact those. Do any final shaping. And now there is no way that I have found, if you found a way, let me know. There is no way that I have found to be able to press this onto a piece of filigree without wrecking it. So what you need to do now is at this point, just bake it. Put it on a piece of index card, put it in the oven, make sure it's shaped just the way you want, and bake it for 20 minutes to half an hour at the manufacturer's temperature. And here are a couple that I baked earlier. And now we can attach them to our filigree. So once you have your filigree piece chosen, let's see, that one, it might be pretty to have two of them on there with some leaves, but I think I'll just do one in the center just to show you. Once you've chosen which rose you're going to put on your filigree piece, you want to grab a couple of balls of the matching clay, and then you're going to press it onto the piece from the back, and you want to press it enough so that you see the clay on the front. So there should be little bits of clay showing on the front. Then you're going to take the other ball and press that from the front and press it out enough so that the clays meet. And so the filigree is sandwiched in between the clay balls. And when that bakes, that's going to be bonded because they're going to be baked and fused together. And if you need to straighten out those edges a little, you can make them neat. Just remember that you do need them to be touching and wrapped around the filigree in order for it to hold on. Otherwise, it will pop off way too easily. Now this is way too thick for your piece. It would just stand far too proud, especially if you're going to use that as a piece of jewelry. So what we're going to do is slice some of this off. Take a nice sharp blade and just work your way around, being mindful of your fingers, so don't put too much pressure on it because you don't want to slip and slice your hand or your fingers. Just go around putting a little bit of pressure on and work your way around. I haven't found a way to hold this that keeps your hands out of harm's way, so the best thing to do is just do it nice and slow and easy, like that. And try that out, and if you need to, you can cut it down quite a bit. You can see I probably cut off about half of that thickness of the flower to get a nice low profile for a pair of earrings. And what I have here is some Lisa Pavelka Poly Bonder, and you just want to put a little swipe of the glue and then press your flower in place. And you can take your tool if you need to and clean up any messy spots, and then there it is. You can use this however you like in a piece of jewelry. You could add some leaves if you want. Just keep in mind you want to keep pointy edges curled down so that they don't catch on anything. Bake that again at the manufacturer's recommended time and temperature. And of course you don't have to do roses. You can do any sort of flowers you want. I just really love the charming kind of vintage look you get with this. Here's a ring I made just with the filigree blank and a single flower. And this one is done very similarly to what I just showed you. This is one of these keyhole pieces, but you wouldn't even know it now. It just looks like a gorgeous frame for the flower. And I did the same thing, pressed some clay in the back, and then press some clay to meet it on the front, sandwiching the metal in between, and then press the baked flower on. And here's a pair of earrings. I just used two of those round filigrees from the chain, added ear wires, and I can't decide which I like better. You'll have to tell me in the comments which you like better, the earrings with the 3 crystals or the earrings with the 1. I like them both. I'm not sure. So I hope that you've enjoyed this project and that you'll run with it and make it your own. So if you're interested in the supplies I use, click on the little eye or the tag in the upper right of the video or the link in the description box to go to my blog post, where I always have a complete supply list with links to products. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and take a look at my Patreon page for how you can get great rewards and help support these tutorials. Happy creating. Bye-bye.